I had okay, you disappeared for a second. I have a son, and at the
Yes.
time, back in December, he was he was he was just about to turn a year, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
was crawling. So what happened was at one point he was crawling towards the kitchen, and I tried to get up to stop him, and I couldn't get off the couch. It was one of the hardest things in the world. Like my foot was buckling, I didn't have the upper strength, and like I really had to like concentrate to stand up. So I managed to stop him, but then I started thinking like that could have been dangerous, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that I'm not mobile enough to get to him to prevent harm from coming to him. And then my mind started wandering with me. I started thinking about other things like, what if I'm carrying him to change his diapers and I have a heart attack and fall on him? Now my wife comes home and find both of us dead. Or
Right.
what if I have a heart attack and he's left like to fend for himself while I'm laying on the couch dead? So that got my mind wondering. Whereas, I've allowed myself to get to a point that's just ridiculous. A lot of times I'll watch TV shows like My 600 Pound Life and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to myself, oh my God, how did this guy let himself get so big he can't get out of bed? But the truth is, I was headed that direction because as a morbidly obese person, we tend to adapt as things get harder for us. Instead of saying, like, hey, wait a minute, I can't tie my shoes like I used to. Maybe I should lose some weight. What we do is we just tie the shoe and then start wearing my like slippers. Instead of saying, like, hey, I can't sit down and wipe myself after I use the bathroom. I have to stand all the time. And then eventually I have to stand and use a wall to push my arms to reach back there and wipe myself. Instead of saying at that point, hey, I'm too big, I should stop, we just adapt. I start, first I start standing and I started finding an angle to use the wall to wipe myself. We just adapt. And we continue to fool ourselves thinking like, I'll lose the weight. I've lost it in the past, I'm gonna lose it again. I'll start tomorrow, I'll start next week, whatever. We just BS ourselves. So I was like, I'm done with BSing myself. I have to find a solution now because it's more than just the safety of my child. At the time, I started thinking that I'm not even going to be able to see him graduate kindergarten. Like literally at that point, I felt like I've reached a point where like I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to die any moment now. I might have a couple of months, I might have a couple of years, but I'm definitely dying. Like there's no surviving this.
Mm-hmm.
So ironically enough, when my wife came home from work, I work from home and I take care of our son. When my wife came home from work, she told me that, oh look, she said she's going on a raw diet and she'd like me to join her. Now the thing is, my wife is not fat. So her saying she's going on a raw diet, it's not really her who's going to diet. She wants me to go on a diet. But she can't just tell me directly because another thing morbidly obese people do is we get defensive. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
who loves us, everyone in our family always tells us, oh, I'm concerned about your weight. You should do X, Y, and Z. You should do X, Y, and Z. And we always snapping back, like we're defensive as if like this is something to defend instead of understanding that the concern is coming from a position of love. We
Mm-hmm.
have this, I don't know, this demon inside us that wants to preserve the status quo, that wants us to continue like eating the way we do. So when she said that, I know it wasn't about her getting small. It was just her way of saying that she thinks that I should lose weight. But when I add that with what just happened that day, to me it was a sign from God.
Right.
Like I thought, I couldn't get up to like, stop my son. I thought about all type of horrible things that could happen if I'm fat. And then
Mm-hmm.
she comes home and tell me this. So basically to me, it was like God said, you know what, you're right. You're going to die. You need to change.
Mm-hmm.
So that night, I started like researching like different weight loss methods because I wanted to do something different than what I've done in the past because I've done calorie restriction, I've done the gym, I've had many personal trainers, I've lost the weight, gained it back. What I wanted to do was find a way to lose the weight and not gain it back.
Right.
So during my research, I stumbled across Barbieri. So now I'm looking and I'm like, there's this man, who weighed
480.
456 pounds.
Right.
And then, he lost all that weight, got down to 180. And then 5 years when they followed up on him, he only gained like about 15, 16 pounds. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he died a skinny man. So obviously what he did broke his addiction. But to me, it's like I I I don't know how he's capable of going 382 days and feeling that hunger every single day. Like
Right.
he must have gone crazy, or he has the mental fortitude of a god. But I'm like, if he had the mental fortitude of a god, he wouldn't be fat. So I'm
Right.
thinking maybe like something happened to him and he went crazy and became obsessed with losing weight. But further research showed me that hunger does not stay with you throughout your fast. It's
Mm-hmm.
within the first few days, and once your body switches over to burning fat for fuel, then you're no longer hungry. So
Right.
once I learned that, I'm like, okay, so then the real battle is within the first few days. So then the way I was eating, I knew I couldn't just jump into a fast. So what I did was I went on a 3 week intermittent fasting regimen with a 4 hour window. Cause this way I'm eating every day. I'm training my body to like fast, to be in a fasted state for 20 hours a day. And I figure that would train me mentally and physically to deal with the actual fast.
Yes,
So
sir.
I started the intermittent fasting on December 11th. On January 2nd is when I actually started the actual fast. So January 1st was my last meal. And the reason I picked January 2nd instead of first is because on the first, my mother usually cook a nice family dinner, and it's a smorgasbord of food. And I'm like, look, if I'm going to fast, then this will be my last meal. And the thing is, when I went to her house on the first, I didn't pick out. I still ate within the 4 hour window.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ate appropriately. And when the second came, it's like the night before, I thought to myself, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to do this? You got to do this. You got to do this for your son. You got to do this for your son. So when I woke up that day, at the time, my eating window was 2:30 to 6:30. It was a 4 hour window. So 2:30 came, I didn't get nothing. I was drinking water all day. The window closed. I was fine. I wasn't hungry. So I'm like, okay, I got one day down, right? Second
Mm-hmm.
day, same thing. I wasn't hungry or anything. Now the third and fourth day is when hunger came, but hunger only came around my eating window time. So I was perfectly fine. And then by the fifth day, I wasn't hungry at all. Now, the thing is, mentally, I was like, okay, try to get through 7 days. Try to do the 1 week, right? If you could do 1 week, then what you could do is every month you fast 1 week and you gradually lose the weight, But I knew fasting was the way to go. So I believe it was around day 6 or 7, I stepped on the scale and I realized I was like around 491, 492. And that's coming from 530. So that's when I'm like, you know what? I got something here. And not to mention, I don't feel hungry. I feel sated all the time. I decided, okay, then you know what? I'm definitely gonna do the 7. Let me get to 10. But I was pretty confident I could do the 30. So that's when I'm like, you know what? Let me start a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Because I think I'm onto something here. And that's why I started my YouTube channel on day 8. And you could hear, if you saw that first video, you could hear like, look, I don't know how far I could go with this, but I have to do something, to change my lifestyle. And hopefully, if I'm successful, I encourage other people who suffering from morbidly obesity to do something to get a hold of their health too.
Absolutely.
And pretty much day 30 came, and this is a breeze. All right, I could do another day 30. So I kept doing it in 38 increments because um if I set out like, okay, I'm going to do 300 days, I'm not going to do 300 days. What's going to happen is after the first week, I'm going to think, wow, it's only 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I got 293 days left. No. See,
Right.
but if I'm like, it's 30 days, I'm like, I'm at day 7, I only got 3 weeks left. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
The 30 days is done, I do another 30. And I kept going on like that. The only thing was, my wife was concerned about fasting. She wanted me to tell my doctor, to let my doctor know what's going on so I could be properly monitored. And that was probably the best thing I could have done, because once the doctor was monitoring me, once he was taking my blood works and seeing my electrolyte levels, seeing the ketones, I had a clearer picture of what was going on in my body. For instance, he noticed like I was low in iron, so I got an iron supplement. So I was able to keep tuned and keep healthy because I was being monitored, and that like freed up my mind because I knew I was doing everything right. So 30 days turned to 60, turns to 90, turned to 120. By 150, because each time as it got longer, I pretty much had to discuss it with my wife because I didn't want her worrying, about the fast. Now, to me, I could have kept going. I could literally go as long as Angus, But I reached a point at 150 where I felt that I had broken my food addiction. So now I wanted to like create a new template, a new paradigm in terms of the relationship with my food.
Yes.
To go forward for the rest of my life with this template and eat healthy from that point on. So at 150, I felt like, okay, this is the time for me to stop, switch to an OMAD regimen, because I decided the 1 meal a day for life would be the way to go, because it's something that my body's not used to. If I go back to 3 square meals, I could easily regress back to my old eating patterns.
Yes.
1 meal a day, my body's not used to. 1, 2, what it is used to is a state of fasting. So when I have my 1 meal a day and I'm fasting the other hours, my body is used to fasting the other hours. So it's an acceptable norm. The aberration is really the time I'm eating. And so far it's been good. I have not been hungry since the third and fourth day of the fast. Like I broke my fast May 31st. I did a 12-day refeeding in which I gained, I believe, 9 pounds, right? And then after the refeeding, I went to the keto OMAD, and I have not been hungry. Now, it's not really 1 meal a day because, typically OMAD is like you eat within a 1-2 hour window. Now, because my stomach shrank so much from the fasting, I start out with a 4-hour window. And even then with the 4-hour window, I'm full with every little thing I take. So even doing the OMAD, I can never really fill myself up, but it's fine though, because I'm not hungry, which means, that my body is still burning the fat, because otherwise I would be hungry. It would be starved for nutrients.
Right.
So that's pretty much, that's what started, and that's where I'm at now. I'm doing the OMAD. My goal is to get to 195 pounds by December. If you've been following, the weight loss has slowed to about 2 pounds a week, whereas before, I was losing 10, 11 pounds, like big numbers, because I was fasting. But I don't mind that. Like, I'm doing the keto OMAD, and I'm thinking about changing to the carnivore OMAD. But more importantly, I'm also strength training and doing cardios. So I'm, my whole thing is I'm headed towards being healthy.
Right.
I have none of the temptation I had before. I could drive by Burger King, McDonald's. The way I was before, if I'm sitting down and I'm watching TV and a commercial comes on for, say, a $5 teriyaki chicken footlong, right? My first impulse is to jump in my car and go to Subway. Wendy's have chicken nuggets for $1.49 for 10. My first instinct is, I gotta run out there and get it.
Right.
One of the best things that happened to me was having my child, because before I had my son, I would act on those impulses. I would literally get dressed, go to the car, and go out and get me some fast food junk because I seen it on TV. Right. Now, once I have my son, I can't pack up my son to put him in a child seat just to go get food. That's too much work. So I would just relax. I wouldn't do anything. But then along comes Uber Eats and Amazon Eats, where you could get the food delivered to you. So I was getting food delivered to me and packing on the pounds anyway. Right. But now I'm at the point where, like, my window opens up, and it's not like I'm clock watching. Oh my God, when's the window go open up? Sometimes I'll look, I'm like, oh my God, I should start eating. A half hour, an hour done passed, and I didn't even think about eating. That's a whole different me. That's a whole different relationship with food.
Right. So you think that the addiction to food is, if you keep this OMAD regimen up, it's almost permanently broke. Like, do you see
absolutely. Right. Absolutely, because my body my mind is not used to eating, like within a certain period of time, just that one time, and the rest of the day it's all water, no juice, nothing, just water. It's not. I mean, it's used to it from the fast. That's a given. Because
Mm-hmm.
24 hours, I was just having water, 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 water. It's used to it from the fast, but I'm talking about like in terms of my old mentality, it's not used to it. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to go back to 3 square meals because it'd be too easy. Whereas one day my breakfast is healthy and home cooked, the next day it's like, let me go get Wendy's. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? I
Yes.
can't do that anymore with the OMAD regimen because now whatever I eat, I'm eating within that certain amount of time, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
makes it impossible to overeat because I get full quick, right?
Right.
And I also have to be strategic about what I eat. I have to plan it out. I can't just go to Wendy's and
Mm-hmm.
or and blow my OMAD on that junk. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And also now my mentality is this junk is poison. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want that in my body. If I want a burger, I'll make it myself.
Right. Like the fast food, almost you view it as something that might turn you off, like disgusting. Like
It's
it's almost like
disgusting.
some
Exactly.
filth.
It's disgusting.
Right.
Like earlier today, I was driving with my wife and my mother-in-law in the and my mother-in-law saw a sign. It was like $20 fill up, and it was KFC. So
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Is that a gas station?" I'm like, "No, it's $20 fill up on cholesterol and heart attacks."
Yes.
Like that's my mentality now. Whereas
Right.
in the past, I would make a mental note: $20 fill up. I gotta come back here and find out what it's
That's so
about.
deep.
But now, I just told her like, "No, that's cholesterol and a heart attack." Like to me, it
Right.
was just like this commercialism of food to just get people fat to like the food industry make money from you buying it, you get obese. When you get obese, the medical industry make money trying to treat you. The
Yes.
um the weight loss industry make billions of dollars trying to sell you dreams on getting skinny again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it's just everything's about money, and pretty much that's like remember like you go back to the 40s and 30s, there wasn't anybody who was obese.
Right.
Back because food wasn't that commercialized. Like people were worried about food shortages.
Mm-hmm.
It's after World War II, like food became so readily available and commercialized that obesity started.
Yes. And it's it reminds me of a theory someone had. They say that for cocaine, for example, the reason that cocaine is so addictive to people is because it's very purified. Because the cocaine came from coca leaves, and the Indians have been smoking coca leaves for hundreds or thousands of years, and they never really had any addiction problems with coca leaves. But the reason that cocaine becomes so addictive is because they purified the coca leaves to a certain point that your brain just gets so acclimated or so addicted to the
Yes.
substance. And it's really the
Yes.
purity that caused the addiction. Same thing with food. Like when you think about the food we had for thousands of years, they were really really coarse and very very fiber full of fiber grains, whole grains, and those are not really purified. So you really rarely, like in the old days, people getting addicted to food, but nowadays the food that we consume, especially if you talk about the fast food industry, they're so purified, and it plays on your palates and makes your tongue feel like you just have to crave it all the time. So the
Yes.
addiction
Yes.
really becomes comes from the purification of the processed food. And that
And,
was
and
yes.
and that's all by strategy. Like the
Yes,
food industry wants to make food addictive to you, so you keep buying it. Like
that's
potato
right.
chips, everything. Like they add sugar and everything, and sugar's an addictive substance, just like cocaine. I mean,
Yes.
everything they do is strategically done to keep the consumer buying and buying and buying and buying the junk. You know,
Right.
like I had said a long time ago, like the perfect weight loss pill would be a pill that kills your taste buds. Like
Yes.
everything you take in, there's no taste. You might as well be drinking water. Guess
Absolutely.
what? You will stop eating if you don't have the reward of the taste, right?
Mhm.
Then you're not going to overeat.
Right.
You just eat to survive. I mean, you may not eat at all. You may wither away because you won't want to eat because there's no taste to it.
Yes. Yes. And you mentioned in one of your videos that you felt like the addiction to food you had was broken around day 70 of your water fast.
Yeah, it
Would
was
you
sometimes after the 90th day. I don't know exactly when, but like
could you
it was a time
describe
when I
that?
realized that
Yeah.
I've gone. like because before I would watch like food prep videos. I'd watch Sandell eat a whole bunch of food,
Mm-hmm.
and like and I think it was like my wife pointed out to me. She told me it was food porn. She said
Yeah.
there's a part of your addicted mind that's getting satisfaction from
Yes.
seeing the food cook, from watching people eat. So then there was a certain point where I didn't think about food at all. I didn't think about coming off the fast or what I'm going to have. I didn't think about, like watching anything on TV. I was just strictly work. And like, even when my wife cooked and I smelled the food, it just didn't dawn on me like, like anything to live. Before I would, ooh, that smells great, and I would
Mm-hmm.
resist. I mean, like, because I'm already in the fat burning mode. I'm sated. I'm good mentally. I'm stuffed. But I would still acknowledge the smell. There was a point where like she could be cooking and I'm like to me, it's just like noise in the background. And I think that's around the point that I felt my food addiction was broken.
Mm-hmm. And you said that that's around day 90, day 100,
It was
right?
I can't pinpoint the exact time, but it was definitely after day 90.
Okay. And like, could you just describe how did that feel? Like, I would assume that it probably feels like someone who's coming out of a drug rehab, like someone who really just felt very clean and very weightless, almost like take this burden off your shoulder. Is that,
Well,
could you elaborate that feeling? It's like
yeah,
like a free freedom feeling.
honestly, like in theory, like there's the feeling that you have, okay, I'm no longer addicted to food, but it could be yourself tricking yourself. It could be like, Jedi mind tricks you put on yourself.
Right.
The practice, the practical was when I was refeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how good the food tastes, when I was full, I was done.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't this desire to go back and pick at it or nothing like that. It was done. My window closed, I was done. It was over with.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind didn't wander, my mind didn't think back, oh, that food was good. It's in the fridge
Right.
now. None of that happened. Things that typically used to happen back when I was an addict, where like, I couldn't leave leftovers alone. I would pick at it all night, even cold,
Right.
and that didn't happen at all. And that's when I realized, yes, the addiction is absolutely over. But then, there's that worry that, like all addiction, it could spontaneously come back.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's pretty much like my feeling of total conquering this addiction is a work in progress. Like as I've been going along and I have not had hunger, I have not had the desire to, even when I'm cooking, like if I'm cooking something and it's before my eating window, I don't even have the desire to taste what I'm cooking. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I know, like, okay, the addiction is definitely gone. And each day I know it's gone, I just feel better and better and better. Like I'm the master of my universe.
Yes.
Because another thing I found out during fasting, and something that's the most important is, and a lot of people don't, realize this or they just don't acknowledge it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our body is the one thing in the universe that we have more control over than anything else. We don't have
Yes.
control over our kids like that. We don't have control over our environment. We don't have control over our outside stimuli. But our bodies itself is the one thing in the universe we have probably, I would say, 97% control over. The other
Yes.
3% would be, things like diseases and stuff like that. And even then, like some people have been known to meditate and conquer certain things too. So for
Mm-hmm.
them, it's 100% control,
Right.
But like, when I was morbidly obese, because now I'm no longer morbidly obese and not even obese no more, because I think I'm less than 100 pounds over my normal weight. So I'm just fat, you know? But when I was morbidly obese, it was more like a victim mentality, like something outside is being done to me, you
Right.
know, like I can't control my appetite, I was born this way. There's a lot of big people in my family. It's genetic. It's this, is that. A
Yes.
whole bunch of excuses that allow me to keep going in this cycle
Yeah.
of self-destruction that I could have put an end to once I made up my mind I want to end it. Pretty
Right.
much, like once I made up my mind I want to end it, I could have put an end to it.
Right. And that that's something I think the most inspiring I think to the viewers, like myself, is that, when you are in the throes of the addiction, whether you're talking about food or cigarettes or drugs or alcohol or pornography, and you feel like so hopeless, you feel like I'm powerless to overcome this addiction. I used to smoke cigarettes, and it took me 10 years to quit. Probably 2 dozen tries, and every time you quit, you try to quit, you just think that it's insurmountable task that you have to overcome, and you feel like you're so powerless to do that. And I felt like, unless you take that first step and make the determination, you know what, I'm responsible for this. Nobody else. I cannot blame this on anybody else. My genetics, the environment, the government. I think, as the first step is just to take responsibility, saying that
Yes.
I have control of my body, I have control of my habits, and
Yes.
that's like the most critical part. Once you make up your mind to change, I think God, supernaturally, He's going to give you the strength. And that's what really impressed me about your first week, because my experience with fasting is that, I only fasted for a week, of course, but it seems like every day is getting harder and harder. Like I remember the hardest day was probably day 3 for me for this weekly fast, and the reason for that is I remember it was the night of day 3, and I said, oh, I'm coming up to the halfway point of my weekly fast, but I felt, oh my God, I'm about to die here, and there's another, I'm only halfway there, so it felt like so hopeless, to fast another 3.5 days. But I think, really God gave me the strength to continue that. But I was very interested to hear that you didn't feel that at all. Like the first 2 days, you said it just passed by as a
No,
breeze,
no,
and
I did feel that, and I think the reason again is because of the intermittent fasting regimen. If I had just jumped from the way I was eating right into a fast, I don't think I would have lasted. Like the minute the hunger came on day 3, I would have ate. Actually, the hunger would have came from day 1, because my body would have just been used to eating all day, all the time. So the minute day 1 came, I would have been hungry throughout the day.
hmm
But because I did the intermittent fasting and my body was used to being in a fasted state, day 1 came and it was like, okay, it was an aberration. We're okay, because it's already burning some of the fat from being in a fasted state for 20 hours. You
yes,
see, day 2 came. By day 3, my body realized something's wrong here. Let me remind this guy to eat. You see what
right,
I'm saying?
yeah.
And then, by day 5, it was like, all right, screw it. We already know what we're doing. Let's just take it from the fat. And that was pretty much it. But if I went from eating normal right into the fast, I would not have succeeded. That's why I did the 3-week intermittent fasting.
Well, I did that too. To ease into my weekly fast, I fasted for 36 hours every week for 6 weeks straight. But still, it was really tough for me. And I think a lot of people, whether you're losing weight or breaking from any addiction, there's a point, I believe, that you want to give up, because you just felt this is too much of a hill to climb, and you don't believe in yourself. You start losing faith in your abilities, in your willpower, or in God, or whatever. And I just want to know whether you encountered that point in your 150 days fast, like when, if you did, and when was that, about how many days into it, and how did you overcome that?
There was really no point that I wanted to give up. The only time I wanted to give up was before it even started, when I had my doubt on the first that I'd be able to fast. Once I started fasting, even on day 3 and 4, when the hunger came, I didn't think like I should give up. I'm like, okay, you know what? If it becomes too much, you just do 7 days. Because ultimately my goal was to get to 7. When I got to 7, I'm like, can you do 10? Then when I got to 10, it was like, you definitely gonna do 30. Okay. And then after I did the 30, what happened pretty much, it became kind of like a reward situation.
Hmm.
Like the weight loss was so drastic that I had to see what else I can do. You see,
Right.
going forward. And it worked twofold, because I knew if I could fast a long time, I'd be able to get over the food addiction. But also, I'm losing a lot of weight. I've gotten down from the 500s to the 400s. I'm headed to the 300s. I break the 300s. I'm headed to the 200s. So it just kept me going and going and going. Like it was just the reward of the weight loss that was more important than ever giving up. Because when I give up, what do? I go back to exactly the status quo, the same
Hmm.
thing I was doing before that was driving me towards the grave. So like
Yes.
giving up didn't make any sense. It just wasn't logical to me. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I had to keep going forward and see this thing through because, like, I mean, it just to me it just made no sense. And then not to mention, remember, once you start fasting and your body starts burning fat for fuel, you're
Mm-hmm.
no longer hungry. So for me to get off that and then go back to eating and what, try fasting again later, to me it didn't make sense. It was like, let me just keep going through because it's only going to get easier as my body get used to it. And that's what happened. But then again, I have a lot of fat on me. You know, I'm like a nuclear power plant of energy. So of
Right.
course, it's easier for me than someone your size to fast. You see? Because the
Right.
body got a lot to burn. Whereas you, like just looking at you, you're much smaller than me. So like your 7 day fast was probably like my day 70.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but you know, I think there's some truth to that. I think it's probably a lot easier, you know, for someone your size to get into this, you know, 7 day or 10 day fast if you're mentally prepared. I think a lot of people, you know, who are into 500 or 600 pounds, they never really, uh, they never attempt to fast because they just think that it's mentally is too difficult to overcome this obstacle. They don't realize once they try it, it's probably easier than they anticipated. You know, than they
Yeah,
than they
that's
thought.
true. I mean, I thought it was hard before I started. I thought it was going to be one of the hardest things in my life. But the longer I went, the easier it got.
Yes, and I think you had a really good idea to starting this YouTube channel because not only after day 30 or 40 you see the results, you're losing the weight, and also the feedback from the community, very supportive, people who give you praises and support and telling you what a great inspiration that you are, and that builds a community around you, and increases the sociability, I think, of your life as well. I think I read it somewhere. There was a scientist did an experiment before with rats, saying that if you isolate a rat in a cage and feed them cocaine water, the rat will get really addicted to the cocaine to a point that they would forgo food, and consume the cocaine until they die. But if you put a rat in a community, with things where they can socialize and play and whatnot, and you put cocaine right next to it, the rat would not be addicted to the cocaine. It would live a normal life. And the conclusion is that much of the addiction is probably caused by social seclusion. It's like the more you consume something, whether it's a drug or alcohol, the more you become secluded, from the society and whatnot, and more it feeds back to the habit. Once you feel like you're getting so much love and support, admiration even, from the wider community, I think that becomes a fuel, for you to keep going. Whether it's 30 days or 40 days or 50 days or 150 days, I think that becomes a positive feedback loop,
Yeah,
right?
I believe it. I believe you're right. That's true.
Yeah. So and that's struck me as strange because I see some people, have negative feedbacks on you, on your channel, and I'm wondering, like, do you see the reason behind that? Some people, they say that you're
Uh,
not really doing a true water fast and what.
yeah, I know people nitpick over like, well, it's not really water fast, or like, you're gonna gain the weight back, or you're gonna die. Like, I mean, I've had a whole bunch of different trolls, in the comment section. But the thing is, what I find is that the best thing about it is it fuels me. Like the people who
Mhm.
compliment me, they fuel me,
Right.
and the trolls fuel me too, because like they say I can't do this, I can't do that, and that just gets my energy going because I'm determined to show that they're wrong.
Yes.
Like a good 60-70% of them have gone because I didn't die.
Hmm.
I did refeed and I was perfectly healthy.
Mm.
And all those people talk about water fast, water fast. Nobody can just drink pure water and go 150 days. You're gonna
Right.
die.
Right. That's
You know what I'm
stupid.
saying? Like, and that's one of the things I always challenge to. Like, look, if you want to prove me wrong, then you go ahead and you fast like 60, 70 days with just water. Good luck.
Yes. Sorry,
Mhm.
my daughter is right next to, because I've been telling my daughter about your story. So she was really was so surprised. She was so glad to see you, to hear from you. Okay, Josephine, come on, I'm talking to
Oh,
brother.
that's so cute. There was that bunny rabbit.
It's a bunny rabbit, yeah. She's being very amazed by your 150-day journey as well. So that is having an interview with brother John. Please give me a couple more minutes, okay?
For more.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yes, sorry. Please continue.
No, that's fine. So yeah, so like the people who compliment me, who support me, who find encouragement from me, they give me the strength to like keep going. But then the negative people also give me the determination to prove them wrong. So
Right.
all of it works the same way to me. Like
Yes.
I read the negative comments and it comes from a position of ignorance. Like, yeah, I mean, there's some people who like say, well, you know, you starved yourself. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, nobody could starve themselves for 150 days. Like, you have to be
Right.
mentally ill to go through starvation. Now, if I wanted to starve myself, I'd have a cracker each day,
Right.
which would keep me hungry like for 150 days. You see, because the
Right.
body would always think there's some more scraps of food coming. You see?
Right.
So like, I take it with a grain of salt. Like you cannot please 100% of people 100% of the time. As a matter of fact, let me tell you something funny. My last weigh-in, on the last video I did,
Mm-hmm.
like usually I have my wife film everything for me. And I think you've seen the videos. She'll film and then she'll back up and you see me standing on the scale.
Mm-hmm.
So the last weigh-in I had to do it myself. So I had to hold the phone camera, step on the scale and weigh myself. So of course, there's no way to show myself on the scale, but I mean, it's been pretty consistent because my wife normally films, right?
Right.
And I get a comment saying that, oh, I saw the shadow when you put one leg on the scale. So the logic behind that is, okay, I put one leg on the scale to fake a reading
Right.
and only lost 2 pounds from the last time my wife filmed me on the scale. Like, to me, it's just like some people are just stupid. Like, there's just negative people in the world who like they naturally don't like what you're doing. Like anyone else would see, like, oh my God, this guy went from 530 pounds. And they would look and see the first video and see me now.
Yes.
And regardless of what, say, look, I may not agree with your methods. I may not agree with this, but I'm glad you're doing something about your health. But, there's a lot of illogical people who just, for lack of a better word, they're haters.
Yes.
They're sour people because they can't achieve nothing in life, or, they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and they'll be what they are. But that doesn't bother me at all. Like I said, it fuels me either way. Both the positive and the negative fuel me.
Yes, and I think you hit it on the head here. I think a lot of people, especially someone who is over 500 pounds or 400 pounds, morbidly obese, they see your story, and now they have no excuse for not lose weight. You know what I mean? And your experience and sharing this experience with the world almost called out their addiction to food. Now what excuse do they have? This guy came, lost the weight from 536 pounds all the way down to close to 200. Now, if you can do it, anybody can do it. If the people who are 300 pounds, 400 pounds, they have no excuse to do that. And they probably felt the pressure to lose the weight while maybe mentally they're not prepared to do that, or they just too scared to even take that first step and try. And that's why the only way for them to find any kind of consolation is to attack you, because you're the judge now. You're the mirror that called their action out, their addiction out, and made your experience made them feel bad about themselves. And I think that's why instead of thinking, reflecting on their own shortcomings, they try to make you look bad. They want to attack you to make you look bad so that they can justify themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people are like that. Then there's just some people who's like perfectly well sized and everything, and they just, they're know-it-alls. So they'll say things like, you're damaging your metabolism, all these type of things. Like, the whole thing is, I didn't just go in this blind. I didn't just go in this on a hunch. I researched everything. I read reports. I looked through YouTube. I read Angus Barbieri's whole medical report. So
Mm.
like everything was meticulous research, and this is why, whereas I fasted for 150 days, came off of it, and I did a video every single day I was refeeding just to show that I didn't get refeeding edema or refeeding sickness. David Blaine fasted for 40 days. He came out, he got refeeding edema and refeeding sickness. Multi-millionaire, doctors on staff, but he got sick, didn't he? And
Right.
I didn't. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because
Yes.
I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. That's really really what I was impressed, because in the beginning you had this very good strategy of doing this fast. And I was wondering, like, how were you so strategic? You got to really know yourself really well. You know that if you do not ease into it with this OMAD, prepare yourself for like a month, you would fail the first week. Like, how did you know yourself so well? Did you like make multiple attempts in your life?
No, no. You know what it is? It's years of yo-yo dieting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm able
Yes.
to see all the pitfalls, even when I talk about like the scale. When I step on the scale, that's the first time I'm seeing what I weigh too. I do
Mm-hmm.
not weigh myself during the week. I never did, because the scale was also an instrument that kept me from losing weight. Because I could go on a diet and then I step on a scale and see not a pound drop. That's
Right.
my excuse to leave the diet that day. You know?
Yes. You're
Or,
discouraged.
I've been going for a couple of weeks and it's like, oh my God, I only lost 1 pound. That's my excuse to stop the diet.
Yes.
So the scale, like, it's years of experience, years of dieting that lets me know myself. And that's why I'm like, I know myself to the point where like I know for a fact that if I try to just go cold turkey with no eating, I'm not going to succeed. I'm going to
Right.
break down, because there's been other diets that were a bit restrictive, like the military diet and things like that. And I would do it for a couple of days and then break down. I can't keep it up. It's too regimented. It's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much that's what I'm like now. The intermittent fasting I did before, but I did an 8 hour window, and I stayed true to the 8 hour window. It's just that within that 8 hours, I ate a lot of junk,
Right.
processed food, pizza, burgers, fast food. I ate a lot of junk in that 8 hour window because I really subscribe to the idea that it's not what you eat, it's when you eat. And by the time I was done, I gained some weight, but then I thought as much as I ate, I should be much heavier. So I knew there was something to the intermittent fasting, but I was like, I don't think I could do another 8 hour window and be ready to fast. So I cut it down to 4. And I'm
Mm.
like, the real struggle is going to be like the first week of eating within that 4 hour window. If I
Mm.
can master that, then I'll be able to get into the fast. And pretty much the first week, and I guess the added determination of being there for my son made it easier. Where like even when the demons was like, look, it's only 15 minutes after the window. Go grab something. I was like, no, I gotta do this for my son.
Right.
Like that was always the rationale for myself. I got to be there for him.
Yes.
Like I cannot allow myself to not be in his life to raise him properly, especially with the way the world is today. So like
Yes.
that kept me going. And yeah, so it's pretty much like knowing myself thoroughly allowed me to strategically plan everything. Just like I told you when I was like, I don't think I could fast like Barbieri because there's no way I could deal with hunger every day. Once I found out that hunger goes away after the first few days, I'm like, I could do it. Because I know for a fact I would not be able to do it if I had to deal with hunger every day.
Right. I think it was one of the philosophers said that anyone, as long as he has a why, he can almost handle any how. So your dedication to your son really was the ultimate goal, for you to keep this going.
Yes, yes.
Even though it could be almost insurmountable for anyone your size to think, while not eating for even a week, not even for a day, that's a lot to ask. But
Yes.
because you want to do it not only for yourself but for your family, for your loved ones, that why gave you the momentum to
Exactly.
proceed.
Exactly.
Now with my experience, like whenever I was doing the fast, like one biggest problem for me is dealing with boredom. I was really bored because, like, especially for people in the Western society, who wouldn't realize that if you have unlimited supply of food, like all your 24 hours a day, like your mentality is revolving around food, feeding yourself, eating, snacking and whatnot. And once you cut that off in a fast, like you don't know what to fill with that time with. You know what I mean? At least that was my experience. Did you have the similar experience, and how did you deal with that?
No, well, the thing is, one, society builds it up that way. Like
Mm,
that's why we're bombarded with these food commercials and things like that. And
yes.
we're always taught, like, okay, you watching a movie, you eat popcorn, you're sitting at home, we're always like all these things are reinforced to keep us eating, you
Right.
know? But like with regards to the boredom, it was hard for me to be bored because again, I have an infant son. So
Mm,
like, the time that I would take, because when I was ordering from Uber Eats and things like that, I would put the food away, and like when he go to sleep is when I would eat. My interactions with him took precedence over the eating food. Like yeah, once in a while, like I might snack on something while I'm interacting with him, but for the most part, for the food like ribs and things that my hands are gonna get greasy, I really got to pay attention to. I'll put it away and I'll wait till he take his nap. So without food, it just and plus I work from home. I just threw myself into my work and my son, and then like once in a while I'll pick up the PlayStation, play some video games.
okay. So you never really had like a stretch of time where you're wondering like what do I fill the time with? Normally,
No,
like for me, I probably spend a good 8 hours a day, just either eating or snacking or thinking about food, preparing for food. You never really had to deal
no,
with
I
that
think
that
I
part.
think the time that I was like that, right? It wasn't even me thinking it, but when I told you I used to watch like the cooking shows on
Yes.
YouTube and Randy Santel eating these massive burgers, I think that was what I was doing to fill up that type of addictive time.
Hmm.
Like because the food was being reinforced to me in a different way. But
Right.
other than that, as far as I myself sitting there like I'm bored, I need a snack, and I never felt that. For that never came into play.
So watching the cooking show, that was during your 150 days fast, right? At least in the
Yeah,
early.
that was like within the first 70, 75 days or so. I think like, after that I kind of stopped.
And you didn't feel any temptation, like when you while
No,
you're watching those shows?
everything was strategic. It was like, okay, because I knew when I got off fasting, no matter when it was, that I was going to go OMAD and I was going to start with keto OMAD. So everything was more or less learning everything about keto, how to prepare keto, the type of food I'm around. It was more like research to me.
Hmm.
So I wasn't tempted, but it was like in the back of my mind, okay, once I'm able to eat, I'm going to make that. That was pretty much it. So
Right.
let me learn how to make it properly. Okay, good. Okay, fathead bread, I know how to do that. Okay, perfect. That was pretty much it. But it wasn't like I want to break the fast to have it right there and now. Because like, my whole thing was like, you know, the food is going to taste the same. You know what I'm saying? Like if I broke the fast today or if I went another year and tasted it later. There's nothing, it's not like Martians are coming from space with some new exotic cuisine that I will never taste again in my life unless I break the fast. So
Hmm.
we could wait.
Right.
And that's the philosophy I carried throughout the fast. Although, to tell you the truth, when I broke the fast, food tasted 100% better. Like
Yeah.
I can't, like it became eclectic. Like I can't explain to you. There was this newfound appreciation for taste. Like my taste buds were reborn. Fruits were the sweetest fruit I ever tasted. If you watch my refeed video, every
Yes.
bite I take was like ecstasy.
Right. That's my experience as well. Even though after coming out of a 7 day fast, I just remember the first day, I was eating something that's more like a liquid, like a mango lassi, and it felt so good, just eating that after 7 days. But it was
Yes, yes. So imagine after 150.
Yeah, I know. And it was a time that builds up to that point because during the 7 day fast that I had, I was thinking, oh God, I can't believe I'm in this. I wish this time could fly faster so I could hit the 7 day mark and actually, refeed myself because I miss the food. You know what I mean? But it seems like, for you, you never really like even from day one to the first week you never really had a lot of like missing the food. It's almost like you broke the addiction almost from the get go, and the 150 days is just the formality. Yes, the formality, to break, like from the beginning, you almost broke this food addiction. You've been struggling, most of your life, and the remaining 150 days is just the formality to reinforce.
Reinforce it. Yes.
Right. And I think a lot of people who are morbidly obese, I think they can take a good lesson from that. It's not as hard as they mentally make it out to be. It's a lot easier, because your body is going to digest the fat that's stored in your body even after 30 days or 40 days, and you won't feel hungry at all at that time, right?
Exactly.
And another topic I want to talk about, it's probably a little bit not easy to talk about, is that going to the bathroom. Like for me, after 6 or 7 5 or 6 days, after I go to the bathroom, I still go there a lot, like several times a day, and especially after I drink water with electrolytes, and you can see, like, whatever remaining in my stomach, together with the fat that was burned, just coming out. Like, was that your experience even towards the end of your fast?
A lot of people ask about that, like if I saw like parasites and things like that. The thing is, I never look back. There was a point where, like, it was just liquid all the time, whenever I would go. Then there was a point where I just wasn't going at all. And if you follow my video, at that point I became backed up. I had a fecal impaction that was just like, like stuck there, and that didn't come out till the 4th of July. But I never really looked to see if all that waste was coming out, Although, like, I did get like blemishes and things like that in my skin, and I think that was like the toxins coming out of me, through the pores. Like I did get like some blemishes on the back, like,
Right.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. And what about any future plans? Do you plan to do any more fasts in the future?
Well,
Maybe not 150
not
days.
long-term fasting like I did, but I do want to first I'm dangling with doing alternate day fasting. The only thing is I'm afraid of bringing back hunger, because like I told you, I've never been hungry since this thing, So I'm a bit on the fence, because I don't want to do alternate day fasting and all of a sudden I get hungry.
Right.
Because not being hungry also helps in keeping me straight, you see?
Yes.
In keeping me away from the addiction, because I'm never hungry, So what I'm doing is perfect. But I do want to do one day of fasting each week, a random day of fasting. It could be a Monday today, it could be a Thursday next week. But the reason I haven't really put that into practice is because, again, every day I eat, because my stomach is so small, I never feel like I get enough nutrients in. So I don't want to add that extra day of not eating yet.
Right.
But I do plan on, and this is a lifetime thing.
Yes.
I'm going to do OMAD for life, and I'm going to do one day of fasting each week for life. So that's like 4 days a month, I'm going to fast.
Right. And that's going to add up to, 50 days,
exactly.
A year fast.
Exactly.
And you can keep that up for 30 years. Then you'll be like, below.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's the prescription I wrote myself to making sure I never become fat again once I'm small.
Well, God bless you, Brother John. Thank you so much. It's we just approached the hour time mark. Thank you so much, for your time to share your experience with me. Yes. And I will post the interview at my other channel, and I will forward you the link.
Absolutely. Yes. Tell me, so I'll put it on my next feed to get some of my guys over there so they could check out the interview.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, Brother John, and God bless you. Let's reconnect sometime later.
And, hey, you got my email anytime, babe. I'm here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.